Hi everybody, this is Eric Johnson. Today we're going to do a video series that has to do with a side of Fenn that I think has been hinted at, but I'm not sure that many people are really aware of it that have been in the Forrest Fenn hunt. I know that a lot of people don't like anyone that does a video or talks about Fenn in a disparaging way. And all I'm going to say about what I'm doing today is that I'm telling it like it is. And you can listen to my videos if you want. If you say at the end of it, you know, that was a cheap shot, go ahead. It's not a cheap shot in my opinion. I'm going to read from a couple articles of people who have met Forrest Fenn. One of them met Forrest Fenn before he even started the hunt, and the other met Forrest Fenn during the hunt. And they both wrote their recollections of what Forrest Fenn was like. One who met Forrest Fenn in 2007 wrote about the hunt in 2017, and another one who met Forrest Fenn in 2012 and wrote an article for Newsweek, then commented on the treasure hunt after the find was announced. So that's what it is. I mean, it's just these guys' opinion of Fenn, and in both cases, they found Fenn, I would say, suspicious as a person. And after reading these accounts, I'm hearing the gremlins. After reading these accounts, oh, there's Tober. What's up, buddy? I thought so. So because you heard me, Jesus, see what I mean? Because he heard me in here doing this, he was out on the front porch with the door closed, folks. Just a minute, I gotta go close the door. Tober, you are driving me crazy, buddy. Yeah. I'm sure he'll be up here now, and so he can knock the camera over, do something. It's just a matter of time. Okay, so where was I? These guys have an opinion of Forrest Fenn. They've met him personally, and they're both good writers. And so without any further ado, I'm going to go on, and I'm going to read from these articles. Now, told you. Before we go any further, are you going to knock camera over? You going to knock the camera over? See? Headbutting. The cats. It's how they just love to headbutt everything. Look, he's headbutting in class. You know, Tober, it's cold though, isn't it? It's kind of warm here in South Carolina. Ooh, he's saying, man, that's a nice icy glass. You like that? This is doing nothing though for the video I'm trying to do. Yeah, I know. Oh, wow. Please leave me alone. Do not do that. Oh, good, you corrected the backdrop. He's now headbutting the camera. Are you done? Okay, folks, sorry about that. Before I go any further, though, I want to say this. I really enjoyed the hunt, and I really, really appreciate Forrest Fenn putting on the hunt, the chase. I still think my solve was better. 90% of me feels like the solve was solved by a legitimate finder. 10% of me still thinks it was retrieved by Shiloh. I've got it right down to Shiloh, who, of course, nobody has a clue that Shiloh has anything to do with it. Shiloh seems to be the go-to guy for all of us that have any doubt at all that it might have been retrieved by Fenn instead of found legitimately by a finder, the man from back east. Poor Shiloh. I guess because Shiloh's always been kind of seems like a very, I don't know, kind of like the the guy who's always helping Fenn around and stuff. So I could see him being the guy, and he'd have to have someone trustworthy to go out and retrieve the treasure for him. Why would he even want to do that? I don't know, folks. Just seems like at this stage of his life, so many things are happening. He's about to be 90, which is very old. Why does that matter? Well, because there's a lot of pressure. I know Fenn likes to say there's been no pressure, but for the rest of us humans, having your house broken into by a guy, having your daughter have to hold someone at gunpoint after they break into your house, having, I think, his daughter or granddaughter was stalked. Numerous lawsuits. Peggy, his wife, hopefully she's okay, but it was said that she was very, very sick. He's just getting very old. Who needs it? As I've said a couple of times, if it was me, I'd want the damn thing to be found, and if it wasn't going to be found, I'd almost make it be found. So, you know what I'm saying. But who knows? 90% of me says it's legitimate. Fine, but I'm going to read these articles, and I'm going to introduce just another side of Fenn that I had also heard rumors about, whispers around the edges about, and he had said things. He had said things. His famous quote: "It's not who you are; it's who they think you are that matters." So that's another part of the whole thing that's always kind of made me leery, is Fenn kind of telling these stories about pissing in gas tanks and flattening tires on cars, and going to school for 3 days without really being enrolled in the school, and kind of fooling people or tricking people. People have called Fenn the trickster, etc., etc., etc. So now when we get to this point, at this point, I would like to stop babbling, and I would like to talk about these two articles. Shows another side of Fenn, shows a very interesting side of Fenn. Doesn't make him out to be a mass murderer, but introduces the concept into your brain that Forrest Fenn is capable of doing things under the table. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Especially when we read, the very last thing I'm going to read today is an anecdote about Forrest Fenn and a senator. And when you understand the ramifications of what's happening there, along with some other things that are said about Indian graves, you'll realize that there's a little disparity between the image of Forrest Fenn that most of us have. The second article I'm going to read, I'll give you a couple of lines from it. "I didn't come to Fenn for the story everybody knows today, the tale of a twinkly-eyed gentleman who buried treasure so kids could fall in love with the outdoors." Right? Isn't that kind of what we all came to think of Fenn as? This kind of twinkly-eyed guy who put the treasure out there, and he wanted us all to see the outdoors, and we all did, and I did 6 trips, and I really enjoyed them. But that's kind of mostly what I thought about Forrest Fenn. And then he goes on to say, "On the contrary, I learned about Fenn from the FBI on a grave robbing case. I know, Forrest Fenn's never been convicted of anything. And I think he wanted his epitaph to be, epitaph to be, I wish I'd been, oh, sorry, Tober fell off the table. Oh, jeez. Are you going to get down? Oh, sorry, buddy. You got to quit rolling off things, Tober. Tober's the most trusting cat in the world. You know those things that people have where, well, they used to do them. I don't know if they still do them, but back in the day when I was younger and seemed to all be having problems, they have this trust thing where you would fall back and people would catch you. And that was the whole thing. And that was you learning to let others help you and catch you. Fall backwards, we'll catch you. They took it to the nth degree with the mosh pits. Remember when the people would jump into the crowds, the rock stars, and they'd catch them? But Tober just rolls off things. It's amazing. He'll just roll off. He just rolled off a table, and I kind of caught him, and then I put him down. I hope he didn't hurt himself. Did you know that cats, their spines are not locked together like ours are, like a lot of vertebrates are? Their spines are held together by muscle. That's why they're so twisty. That's why they're able to land on their feet a lot, because they can twist. Their spines can twist. Like they're held together by really big, tough rubber bands. All right. Knowledge nobody probably cared to learn. This article is an article by a guy named Craig Childs. And Craig Childs wrote this article in 2017 about Forrest Fenn. I'm going to read whatever I find relevant. I'm not going to make us all sit here, and I'm not going to go through everything word for word. He starts off by saying a treasure hunter died recently in the Rio Grande. And he says, he talks about the treasure has been put out there. It's worth $2 million. It's got artifacts. Okay. A few years before Fenn announced the treasure hunt in 2010, I saw this chest with my own eyes. I was interviewing Fenn in his Santa Fe home about his collection of pre-Columbian artifacts. He led me into a vault with a thick steel door where he showed me a dazzling array of ancient materials. On a work table was a 22-pound chest of Romanesque design, something you could lift with two hands. It brimmed with gold artifacts and coins. He told me of his plans to hide it and spark a hunt, saying the chest alone is worth $24,000. Fenn is an odd and articulate man, an older fellow with a goblin-like sense of fascination. Eccentric would be the word. He showed me a number of ornate bronze canisters he had cast, planning to bury them around the world. He's talking about the bells and the jars. Then he goes on to say, Fenn is interested in longevity, not of his body necessarily, but the story of him, what will last long after his skins. He says the word skins, plural. I thought that was odd, not sure what he means by that. Hiding this treasure chest makes sure his story goes on even further. He is depending on human craving to get him there. He is 86 years old, but the artifacts he's toying with go back thousands of years. Though I have no doubt the treasure is really out there, he is also sort of a trickster. He likes to throw out a scenario and watch what people do. This concept of his is something I've never even thought of before, but it kind of makes sense. And he'll tell you a very interesting anecdote about something that he believes might have happened with Fenn. For instance, after Fenn took me into his vault to look at artifacts, he said he had to step out for a moment. I believed he was stepping out for a lemonade or to use the bathroom. In hindsight, I imagine he went to a video feed to see how I would react to being left alone in a room with millions of dollars of gold, much of it in small, easy-to-pocket trinkets. So Fenn has left this guy, Craig Childs, in the vault. Apparently all these little trinkets of gold are all laying around everywhere. The treasure chest is there. And Craig Childs, I assume there must have been a camera there. It is a vault. Because he realizes later, he thinks Fenn actually went and watched him on remote camera to see how he would deal with being in a room with all these very easy-to-pocket things. Kind of odd. But he thinks that. For some reason, Craig Childs, in retrospect, thinks that's what Fenn might have been doing. Why do these people that meet Fenn think these kind of thoughts? I imagine he went to a video feed to see how I would react to being left alone in a room with millions of dollars of gold, much of it in small, easy-to-pocket trinkets. Suspecting nothing, I wondered why he would leave a person in the vault when he'd only met me today. The chest was alluring, but it was still only a chest full of rare and shaped metal. I touched nothing. I turned to another work table where I found a Mayan funerary mask made of pieces of jade, secured into the shape of a face, eyes white with black jet pupils. This was something that interested me. I'll try to get a picture of that. I do have a picture of a jade mask that I got off of Dale Neitzel's page. It doesn't have the white eyes with the black pupils, but it is a jade face mask. The mask was easily within reach, and I stared at it. I had seen other similar masks made of hundreds of small jade tiles into a person's face, only they had been behind museum glass. This one I could have picked up in my hands. I could have placed it on my face, which was the first idea that came to me. But it seemed like a bad thing to do. I can't say I'm superstitious, but I didn't want to press my luck. Mayan kings were buried wearing masks like this. When Fenn returned to the vault, I was still staring at the thing. "Try it on if you want," Fenn said. I demurred, saying no thank you. Fenn shrugged. "I don't especially like it. I got it about 5 years ago so I could trade it for something I really want to play with." Speaking of things he really wanted to play with, he showed me Sitting Bull's pipe, which appeared in photographs of the Hunkpapa Lakota holy man in the 1880s. Fenn said, "This is arguably one of the most important American Indian artifacts in existence. There's no way it isn't the original pipe. It's exact. I even measured the concavities and the bowl itself. The ratios are perfect." Fenn really went through a lot to verify the authenticity of this pipe. I believe there have been books about showing the authenticity of this pipe. It's really unique. I'll show a picture of it. It's really unique. It's like corkscrew, the part you hold on to. And it's got this long bowl on it. It's kind of cool. Fenn's life struck me as nothing but treasure. Fenn was touched with a lifelong mania. Every object he held had to tell a story. Not only the vault, but his house is full of artifacts. It feels like a museum. When my gaze fell back to the treasure chest, I told him I could hide it for him. I could put it someplace where people wouldn't find it for centuries. But Fenn didn't want it to be so hard. He wanted to hide it himself. He wanted it to be found, but more than anything, he wanted it looked for. He was throwing a piece of meat into the alligator pit to watch everyone jump for it. He wanted lives. Now this is this is what I was talking about earlier when I said there's a theme to this guy's thoughts about Fenn that I never thought of. Fenn wanted lives changed and courses altered by the movements of his hand. That's the trickster in him. That's something other people would say playing God. You know, when you have enough money to where you can change people's lives, you can tempt them to do this, you can tempt them to do that, you can throw the meat into the alligator pit to watch everyone jump for it. You know, I just kind of go, I don't, yeah, there's always been an aspect of that. All of the treasure hunters with their vlogs and their blogs have all been kind of competing, but a lot of them have been saying they would work together. But yes, absolutely, there's no doubt that Forrest Fenn has created a situation where he knew he was altering lives. Let's face it, people died. I'm not blaming Fenn for that. We're all adults. We went out there on our own. If you died, it's terrible, it happened. That's life. You could die doing a dangerous job and you're out there to make the money every hour. You get your paycheck every 2 weeks or every month. You know, it's just the way life is. You do things, you may die doing them. So I'm not blaming Fenn for being dead, but yes, this guy is absolutely right. Fenn has created a situation where people are scrambling to find the treasure. Part 2 coming up.